I thought Joe Biden was bad, but Kamala Harris is giving them a strong run for his money. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Kamala Harris giving an interview to BET about a few different topics, I suppose. I've not seen the full thing, but I have seen the clip where she focused on voter ID. Now, we all know the Democrats, they don't want to have voter ID be a thing. I'll talk about reasons why potentially a little bit later, but we all know that's their agenda, to not have voter ID be a thing. You could be whoever you say you are and just go out there and vote. Now, there were some reasons she gave against voter ID that kind of gave me the head scratching motion, because I'm like, okay, what are you talking about here, lady? You're talking about 20 years ago? What's happening right now today? Now, before I go any further, let's roll the clip. In this clip, you're going to see and hear what she said about voter ID and why it's not really a good thing. After we get done with that, I'll talk about what she said there. Then I give you my 2 cents, my deep detail analysis, and then I wrap it on up with a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Vice President Kamala Harris is talking about changes to voting laws in her first interview on the topic as VP. So far this year, at least 17 state legislatures, most of them Republican-led, have enacted new laws to restrict voting access. That's according to the Progressive Brennan Center for Justice. Supporters say tighter voting laws are needed to prevent fraud, though there's no evidence that voter fraud is a widespread problem. The vice president spoke with Soledad O'Brien for an interview airing tomorrow on BET and BET Her, which are part of Viacom CBS. In this exclusive clip, she was asked if Democrats should compromise on voter ID provisions in order to pass a larger voting rights law in Congress.
People are talking about potential compromises. Is agreeing to voter ID one of those compromises that you'd support?
I don't think that we should underestimate what that could mean. Because in some people's mind, that means, well, you're going to have to Xerox or photocopy your ID to send it in to prove you are who you are. Well, there are a whole lot of people, especially people who live in rural communities, who don't, there's no Kinko's, there's no Office Max near them. People have to understand that when we're talking about voter ID laws, be clear about who you have in mind and what would be required of them to prove who they are. Of course, people have to prove who they are, but not in a way that makes it almost impossible for them to prove who they are.
You can see more of Soledad O'Brien's exclusive interview with the vice president in State of Our Union, Vice President Kamala Harris, tomorrow night at 8, 7 Central on BET and BET Her.
All right, you saw that, you heard that now. Kamala Harris, what in the world was that? Like I said from the beginning, I can't tell who's worse, Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, because we know Joe Biden gets into these, Alzheimer's, dementia type moments where he doesn't really know what day it is, what year it is. Talking about, some of these kids, they don't hear the phonograph when they go to bed. Phonograph? What's this, 1968 or 2021? Where are you at right now mentally, sir? And I say the same thing for Kamala Harris. Kinko's, there are probably kids who were as old as 20, 21 years old that do not know what Kinko's is at all, because Kinko's has been gone since like 04, 05. They are now known as FedEx Office. Ain't no more Kinko's. So, yeah, you're right about that. I mean, I don't think there's a Kinko's next to anybody, because Kinko's has been gone for the past 15, 20 years, right? And Office Max as well, that's now known as Office Depot. There may be some Office Depot stores that have the Office Max signage out front, but it's now known as Office Depot because they merged back in the day, right? And quite frankly, to have to go to one of these places to send a photocopy or a fax or something like that is super old school, okay? Everybody has phones nowadays. I don't care. You could be in the projects, living on food stamps, Section 8, WIC, TANF. Your main source of income could be right on one EBT card. It doesn't really matter, because when I was a kid, growing up in the quote-unquote hood, whatever you want to call it, I see the kids outside in the fresh Jordans, Tommy Hilfiger, Nautica, all types of stuff. But they're struggling, right? Single-parent households, right? I can't tell. Big TVs, all that kind of good stuff in the hood. And the way it is right now, I'm seeing these so-called homeless guys with cell phones. They out there literally panhandling with a sign and the dog with a sad story talking about, oh, my wife left me, all this, that, and the third. And then they pull out their phone and start texting. Now, speaking of phones, this phone right here that I got, this is a Galaxy S20, something like that. I don't know. I don't even really care. It just gets a job done. I work on this, but different story. Anyway, when I take a picture of something, when I aim my camera that's on the phone, preloaded, not a paid app, when I aim my camera at something, if it detects that it's a document, it'll scan it right away. And then when I scan it, I can just share it to whoever. And that's the way a lot of these things are done. If you want to send your ID in, just put it on a table, aim your camera at it, it scans it. You could take that and send it to whoever you got to send it to. I've done that before with IDs and stuff. You just take a picture and send it. What's the difference between that and then going to a place and put it on the flatbed scanner? It's the same thing, really. And a lot of places, they'll say you could do that. So how hard is that to use one you already got and the ID you already have and just send it that way? If you're living in a rural area, okay, you got a phone too. You got some kind of internet. It might be 3G, but you still be able to get your ID from point A to point B. I mean, how hard is it really? It's not hard at all. It's really simple. But I think this whole thing against voter ID, the reason why these people, and I say these people, I'm talking about Democrats and leftists in general, the reason why these people oppose voter ID is because they want to have that window open to engage in some funny business. Now, I got to give the disclaimer for the YouTubes and the fact checkers and the censors. I, Anthony Logan, would never say that the 2020 election was anything other than fair and balanced, and there was no irregularities. There was no problems. Everything was above board. The righteous person won the race, although there was a record number of votes, more than the predecessor, to the tune of 10 to 20 million. It doesn't matter because the election was fair and free. And speaking about fair and free, people like Stacey Abrams, when they say that the election was stolen and they want to recount and they want to do over and that they are the governor of Georgia and not Brian Kemp, that doesn't count because she black and a Democrat. And the same thing for the mayoral race in New York when Eric Adams, a black Democrat, says that he wants a recount and they find 135,000 provisional ballots or whatever they want to say, test ballots. That doesn't really count because he's black, he's a Democrat as well. So they can challenge the election and it's fine. And that's the way it's going to be. So I got that out the way. Having said all that, some people want to have that window open. That's just what it is. And we know that because we know that having an ID is not a difficult thing to do. You're talking about it's racist to have voter ID because somehow black folks and brown folks don't have access to identification. I don't understand that because here's a stat that is just a fact. 1 out of every 4 black Americans are on some type of government assistance program at any particular point in time. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to be the same people all the time, but people, they might kind of rotate in and out. Some may be in it for a very long time. 1 out of every 4, that's 25%. So in order to get these welfare programs, the Section 8, WIC, TANF, all of that stuff, you got to have identification. You can't just get these programs with no ID. You want to get put into public housing projects, oh, you got to fill out an application. You got to fill out an application. You got to have ID, birth certificate. You got to have more identification to get these government programs than you do to go vote. So I don't understand why anybody would say that it's racist, why anybody would say that it's somehow disenfranchising the people. It makes no sense. The poorest people are going to have ID. They need their ID more than anybody, and they use it more than anybody, in my humble opinion. It's not a hard thing to do, but some people want that avenue open, and these people are clueless, don't have any idea of what's really going on. They're just repeating the party line. Kinkos, anybody going, like, nobody that is below 30 years old even knows what that is, for the most part. And quite frankly, there's no actual reason to even go to a place like that to do something as simple as sending an ID somewhere. You got your phone already. You take a picture of your ID. You got email for free, Gmail or whatever. Send it off to wherever you got to send it to, and it's done. It's so simple, no fuss, no muss. Matter of fact, they got it on some websites where you can submit it straight on the website. So all you got to do is go to the website, fill out the stuff on the website, right on your phone, and then the picture you took, the scan or whatever of your ID, it'll say, okay, upload here. You push the button, upload it, send it, and then it's done. And if you got to call them to confirm it, you can call and say, okay, did you get this? Did you get that? Perfect. And that's just the way it is. I opened a bank account like that because during this pandemic, they didn't have anybody. You couldn't go to the actual branches to talk to somebody to open your account. We did a video call. You could do it on your phone. He's like, okay, send me some stuff. You can take a picture of it, send it to me. And then it was just simple as that. Paperwork, documentation, ID, whatever. Just send it that way, and then it's done. But as I close, I want to say this. Kamala Harris, I feel like, is a kind of person that has no idea what's really going on out there in the world. No idea. What has she done with her life aside from working for the federal government and state governments or whatever? What has she really done? What has she accomplished? See, I like guys like Bill Lee, the governor of Tennessee, who I met back when he was running. He went in an RV and went all throughout the state of Tennessee talking to people everywhere. And before he became the governor, he was a businessman. So he was out there moving and grooving, making things happen, going to places, understanding what's going on, keeping his ears to the streets to know what is happening. People like Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, and a lot of these DC ivory tower elites, they never come down to the ground floor with us to really see what's happening. They stay in their ivory tower, so their minds are still kind of stuck in the past when they were down here with the peons, with the regulars back 40 years ago, talking about the phonograph playing when kids are asleep. They have no idea how to use modern technology. They have no idea what's going on. They're clueless. And if they're clueless about what's happening in the streets, if they have no idea of anything, then how are they going to provide accurate solutions for what's happening right now in today's society? They can't. They're pretty much puppets controlled by those that are in Washington, big money people that tell them what to do. They are not leaders. They are puppets. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? How do you feel about what Kamala Harris said? Is it right that you can't go to Kinko's and get your copies and, you got to have a color printer? What are we talking about? Is this 1995 or 2021? What's really going on? Whatever your thoughts on that are, let me know in the comments below. You guys pretty much know where I'm at. You have incompetent people in the White House. Vice President, President, the cabinet, staff, everybody incompetent. The only reason why things are happening at all is because of the permanent federal employees, people that's been there for a long time, the interns and whatnot. They're running the show. And some of these big money companies, they're also running the show. They got people in place that are getting their particular objectives met, their agendas met, while just regular everyday people are left to struggle. And hopefully we vote differently in 2022, next year during midterms, and also in 2024 in the presidential election. Whatever kind of irregularities that could exist but don't anyway, whatever they may be, hopefully they get worked out and everything's, free and clear, because what's happening right now, that cannot persist for too much longer. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.